Hello, welcome to FM Corner. I'm Danny Koontz, your host. Our episode today and all FM Corner episodes are brought to you by Windy City Equipment. They are our sponsor, and I truly appreciate them allowing me to continue to do these. Today on the podcast is a good friend, someone I've known for a long time. I want to talk about his career and business and what he does. That's Mark Wagner. Mark is the vice president of Pacadrum and also the founder of Wise Building Ecosystems. Mark, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Danny. It's a pleasure, definitely.
Great. Let's start as we always do. Talk a little bit about your career. Kind of what'd you start in and how'd you get to where you are today?
My facilities journey started on the other side where I was a restaurateur. And so one day my father, as we had 5 restaurants, overlooked my shoulder and started yelling at me because our waste hauling bill was $2,500 back in 1991. So you could imagine it was like, oh my gosh, we need to go get electric hydraulic compactor or something. And then our business partner owned 52 Burger Kings in Orlando, Florida, Manny Garcia. And then he started yelling at us at a Magic game that they were horrible, they break. It caused all sorts of concerns. So we were really caught in between. We wanted to save money, but we wanted to change what was happening in our restaurants. So we went off and developed and designed the first manually operated compactor, now called the Pacadrum, and also fought with the waste haulers to get recycling. At that time, there was no cardboard recycling separate from trash that was not baled. Only baled cardboard was picked up. So we all of a sudden said, well, to our friends, why aren't you picking this up? What's the value of it? Once they figured out that they could make money on it, they said, wow, this really could be something. $300 a ton. Most restaurants are producing a ton. Well, go ahead and do that. Well, then lo and behold, we get sued by Waste Management. So we went from one thing to another, and that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And that allowed for restaurants and other smaller producers of cardboard to actually recycle separately in franchise markets for waste and be able to do it legally. And so before it was basically illegal, or they considered it an infringement on their franchise agreement. So then we became equipment producers and systems producers for other restaurants, and McDonald's being our first customer.
It's a good one to have.
Yeah, exactly. When you solve problems, that's the thing. We didn't realize in the beginning. We just were trying to do it to, save money. And we went from $2,400 down to about $250 a month in that store by doing both cardboard recycling and densification or crushing trash. We talk about compaction just because that's what everybody knows, but we actually have a crushing device or a deflation device, and that's how you win is you deflate trash. But if you do it manually, you don't get in trouble with the haulers and get into excessive weight limits. And that's kind of the mix that we've been able to create.
And how long has Pacadrum been around? How long?
We've been in business for 30 years doing this, and so our customer base goes beyond just McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, KFC, White Castle, Chili's, Applebee's, Panda Express, and so it's expanded as we met people through the RIFMA was one of our biggest proponents of understanding that waste was problematic, and the process leads to the problems. And so facilities managers such as yourself, when we saved one of the Ruby Tuesdays, a lot of times we were doing things that could actually save a restaurant from, say, the fire-marshal or a health inspector. Blocking trash at the back door of your restaurant was causing that problem at the Ruby Tuesdays in Connecticut. And the fire-marshal was like, we're going to shut you down. And you guys came to us and we said, hey, let's take a look at it. So we manually compressed it, creating half the space and half the problem. And the fire marshal then allowed for that restaurant to keep running and operating. And
Sure.
and we've done that with other McDonald's and Wendy's that they've had cities or fire marshals just completely go ballistic and say, you're breaking all the fire code. So we can structure it differently and make it clean and accessible for employees, as well as egress and safety issues out the back door.
And if I remember that right, it's been a few years, but in that Connecticut location, it was out in the back hallway, right? Wasn't
That's
that what
correct.
where it was
There was
going?
this issue for in a mall that it was actually going to a compactor in the end all be all. It was going to be crushed anyways. The problem was that the amount of when it was picked up, there was too much production of trash for the space, and so it would fill up the whole walkway exit to the fire door. And so that egress for your employees safely get out of the building was what was causing the heartache. And so
Sure,
we were able to put in less containers and less space, and that gave people the ability, if God forbid there was a fire, they could get to the door. And the fire marshal signed off.
sure.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about Pachyderm. Like as you go to facility managers. In my case, it was to help with a problem,
Mhm.
but I would assume that one of the pitches or one of the ways is a cost savings.
Yes,
This is
correct.
what you spend. Let us see what
Yeah.
you've been doing, and then we'll tell you what we can do, and here's what your price is. And so the hook per se would be on price, obviously.
Yeah.
But do you run into facility managers who say, "Hey, I don't know how it works. I just know we do business with XYZ, and that's all I know." I mean, they don't. Most facility managers they are in repair mode. You know,
Correct.
break,
Yeah.
fix. That's what they know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know anything about trash and how it works, and they're is that hard to kind of get them to kind of buy in and spend some time in it?
Yes, and it's just an education curve because trash has got all sorts of troubles and problems associated with it also. And depending on the restaurant type, in the quick service, there's problems generated in the front of the house where people are dripping bags and actually getting into lawsuits, big ones like 18 million, $10 million slip and falls. So in the quick service that is moving trash from the lobby to the back, we have a whole program of moving it safely and cleanly, but then the densification or crushing of it in the pachyderm happens to resolve a lot of other problems downstream. And everything is paid for out of waste cost savings. And that's one of the hard things to get across to people. If we can take your $1,000 restaurant bill and convert it down to say $400, all you're spending is about $175 to $225 to get those benefits. And
Mm,
all that profit then goes to the bottom line. Well, now with the way the tax code is structured, there's actually a way to get 20 months of a lease to own program paid for completely out of the tax savings. So now in that first 20 months, there's all these bottom line profits that drop directly to the bottom line. So there's no cost of equipment or bags. And then in the 40 months remaining, you're paying it off, but you're still saving that $600 or
sure,
1,000. It can be a lot of money. And the other elements that are happening is reduction of flies, reduction of bugs, birds, bees. The dumpster is a harboring for bringing things to
sure,
it for the free lunch program and
sure,
dinner program. And so they're in there when typically, depending on the restaurant's footprint, it can be right at the back door. So now we've got birds waiting to get in there. And what are they doing? Their business on your
sure.
building. So
Right.
we found that by changing the process, we're eliminating all sorts of facility related problems such as fly control and pest control, bug control, birds. We're not having to put bird devices on the buildings or clean the building as often or the dumpster corral. So it becomes immaculate due to the bags. The bag is one of our secret formulas in that it maintains all the juices and fluids. You can actually keep during the garbage strike that just happened with Public Services. We had clients that had 40, 50 bags of our trash, which would have been 200 or 300 of theirs, kind of stockpiled in their dumpster corral. There was no mess, there was no problems, and the health inspector didn't care because it wasn't causing an attractor.
Sure.
We've kind of fallen into by listening to our customers those things that we are doing that we never even dreamt of. And so, like the fly issue, a lot of people utilize tilt trucks because they think they're efficient. The problem is the mess inside is the attractor, and the fly follows the into the building. So now you've got them in the back of the house. Under the EcoSure plan, if they find 5 flies during one visit, they get put on a PIP plan. Any restaurant that uses that type of a program, or even corporately. So now we're telling them, look, that if the dumpster's clean, you're not going to have them close to your building and breeding and living, and now they're not going to be in your building. And that happens just because of changing the process gets rid of the problems. And so
Well,
that's
back
the
to
hardest part.
it brings up a point for all facility related items. Listen to your customer. They will tell you what's wrong and what they deal with that takes up too much of their time.
Yeah.
Listen to them and then go figure out ways to make it better for them. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's a recipe to success, and no matter in what kind of facilities you are or services that you provide, is listen to your customer. They're going to tell you what drives them crazy and
Yeah.
what they need help with, and then go help them
And
fix
go
it.
help them with it. Well, and we didn't know that in the beginning, which was funny. Like 15 years ago, 18 years ago, all of a sudden, facilities people would be like, "Hey, our doors are lasting a lot. Back doors lasting a heck of a lot longer." Well, we weren't taking into account we were reducing 3 to 5 trips out the back door every day. Well, that's
Hmm.
thousands less operations. So what happens? DTEC systems are lasting longer. Closing systems, panic bars, hinges on the doors aren't being propped open. And then we got the safety and security teams outside of facilities going, we are a safer restaurant because you have helped us keep the back door shut more times. So now air curtains aren't running, HVAC,
Right.
all from a safety element. We got pushed back on, we need safety. Well, then all of a sudden the facilities guys are going, hey, now you're saving us on a little bit of energy. If you get rid of electric hydraulic compactors, it's even a bigger savings.
Hmm.
So as we listen to them, we're like, wow, we're solving a lot more problems. And that's when we develop now, we call it Waste EZ program. And it's because you don't have to pay for it. The government's going to help you pay for the 20 months of the payment. So drop all that money to the bottom line, clean up your building, your problems that's all caused. And the waste hauler is, in essence, giving them a free gift and extra profit for making their trash smaller for them, and all within the limits set forth by the haulers. They can't do anything
Sure.
about it. No,
Absolutely.
no.
You mentioned your association with Riffman before. How has over time that helped drive your business and also the people and the relationships that you have made?
It's been tremendous. We started out and we were just going to the individual restaurant shows for McDonald's, Wendy's, KFC, and meeting franchisees. Once we got into with a strategic partner, it was actually a equipment supply company that got bought up by one of the Parts Town. Bought
Hmm.
them way back when, and I'm forgetting their name because it was 30 years ago. All of a sudden, we were at the RIFMA for the first time. It was the second RIFMA, and all of a sudden it was like, wow, the strategic partnerships, not just on the client side, but everybody else there started to work as a family or in networking. And that's when we felt it immediately. It was in the first year. And I'm like, we've got to attend this every single year. And as you know, been going to it 19 years and going to RIFMA gives because giving back is important as being involved in a community like this. And so we noticed it real quick that it's a different animal than any other conference that we attend, whether it's the big ones for retail or the individual ones for the restaurateurs. It's definitely had just a dramatic impact on our growth of our company, as well as the strategic partnerships that helped us align in maintaining our customer focus that we've had. It's been
Sure.
amazing. Yeah.
Great. What three characteristics does somebody need to be successful in this industry? Not necessarily trash, not necessarily a facility manager, but what characteristics in your mind does someone need to be successful?
I think they need to be tenacious on seeing problems and opening their eyes to what their customers are seeing. And their customers could be the ones that are eating, or they could be the restaurant manager who's suffering with running a
Sure.
restaurant due to poor facilities. So opening your eyes and seeing their problems and then going, okay, how can I make their situation better? It's going to help me in the long run. As so I would say that open-mindedness to seeing and solving other people's problems, a willingness to work hard. It's definitely nonstop. It's 24/7, 365. committed to being, there in the industry and
Sure.
getting knowledge through going to events and learning from others. I think if you're not learning in this industry, there's always something new that catches me off guard that I'm like, oh my, like just recently was the 5-fly rule. I never even knew that there was a 5-fly rule for EcoSure and that it could shut down a restaurant or
Sure.
definitely impact them. So you got to be learning. So I would say learning, open your eyes to what's going on around you that's not your problem, but somebody else's. And then, solving it, being
Sure.
tenacious.
I think two things. I remember back in my Ruby Tuesday days, somebody could call and I could help them over the phone and so on, and that would work. What really worked was going to their locations and literally with a blank sheet of paper. And, they thought, okay, Danny's coming to look at all my stores. He's going to walk around. He's going to tell me everything's wrong, tell me what to fix. No, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you what you have trouble with as a manager, and I'm going to make you show me. And hopefully I have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do, I'll show it to you. For instance, I have leaks here all the time. Okay, well, let's look. Well, there's your problem.
Yeah,
You've got a hose
absolutely.
cracked. You've got this happened. You got whatever, it may be. Or, one that happened all the times in the kitchens was all my drains are overflowing at night. Well, I know
Yeah.
exactly what's going on. I don't even have to be there, but I'll do it tonight because I'm here. I'll come back to your restaurant when you close. I'll show you what's going on. You're not there. Your kitchen staff's using a water hose and they're blowing it as hard as they can through the kitchen, and everything in the world's going down the drains because they take all the drain covers off. And that could be
Mm-hmm.
shoes, rugs, ramekins, you name it, they're down there. How do
So
you fix
true.
that? Put lockable drain covers on it. They can't take them off. You'll fix but you have to see it, and they're in there every day. They don't see what you see, and that ability to help them. And then I think the other thing you spoke about was always learning. I was asked a long time ago, why do you go to Riffman? I go to Riffman to talk to all the other people who do facilities and the vendors that support them. And if I listen long enough, they're going to help me with my problems because everybody else has had the same problems I do.
You're right. Oh,
So,
yeah.
one, that makes me feel better. I'm not the dumbest guy in the room. Other people got that problem too. And then, second of all, they'll help you fix it. It's not
Yeah.
a trade secret. I have a smell in my bathrooms. What do I do? Well, I'll call the guy at Brinker and ask him, hey, do you
True.
have this problem? Yeah, I used to. What'd you do? I did this. Okay, great. That's better than Google,
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
to get it fixed. But that ability to talk to people or talk to the vendors or find people and, what do you do? I do this. Well, let's talk, and what's out there. And then you do the work for them. And then someone else comes and says, hey, Mark Wagner? Yeah, I know Mark Wagner. What his company? Yeah, it's good. Used them. Here's what I did. This is how it worked. Yes, and it helps everybody helping each other. I
Yeah.
think is huge for that. But
Yeah.
that's listening and learning and having the opportunity that you won't know everything out there, and there's
Yeah.
people available to give you that information.
Yeah. And I think you
What's
hit the
your
nail on the head. Yeah. That's
yeah,
perfect.
that's how it works. Give me your biggest success, Mark, and your biggest regret.
Biggest success probably was getting through to corporate McDonald's and getting a clear understanding that trash is, can be a sustainability initiative. In the beginning, people would poo-poo recycling, and 25 years ago or 20 years ago, it was an uphill battle to get people to recycle. Now it's green is cool. So we were kind of cool before. Now we're even greener and cooler. So kind of that, don't walk away from it, but embrace it. If somebody just thinks, oh, we're just going to be helping you save money, that's not the whole part of it. So once we learn that, this is a all-encompassing restaurant profitability center and in performance program, that's when we started making our greatest strides. And I think in the beginning, we were just looking at, from myself personally and our family business was, oh, if we're not saving people money, that's not good. Now we realize there are a lot of other problems, like, could it be a safety issue, a fire issue, and really learning outside the box and learning from other restaurant groups. Like somebody might go to one restaurant group in a full service that's doing something completely different. As a vendor, we see things. So I started to learn from other vendors by asking them questions. It doesn't have to be necessarily the customer. The vendor might have oh, I've been at another restaurant group and they did this, that, and this. And you're like, kind of like you said, and the light bulb goes off and it's like, oh, I can help my clients with that.
Sure.
And greatest regret would probably be that obviously we weren't able to run restaurants and run a company at the same time.
Sure.
You have to do one or the other, and if you're able to do both, God bless you, because running restaurants is very difficult. Being a
Sure.
vendor for restaurants is very difficult, but you need to use them and do them in silos and be able to have that. So I'd say that would be my. Yeah.
And as you talk about success, one of the things I learned today, you just spoke about learning just a few minutes ago, but as you described the back doors and the detexes and so on and so forth, and the people in safety, yada yada, for customers of wanting, it was a good thing because you were saving them. They weren't opening the door X number of times and putting wear and tear on the door. And I've been in facilities all my life and that never entered my mind until you just now said it.
Yeah, the frequency of opening it could be three per day is 1,000. Now you get to 6 less openings and you're at 2,000 less uses of that door.
Sure.
It's frequency and duty cycle, and so we're not killing the doors, and we're not hopefully anytime an employee goes outside. One thing we've learned from our other partners in insurance, which I never dreamt we would be involved with the insurance groups, but they overheard us at a conference and said, "You're doing what to help slip and falls?" And we're like, "The process is moving the stuff safely in the quick serve and not dripping and spilling." When they started getting $18 and $10 million lawsuits because an employee moved bags by hand, it's an aha moment. It's like, oh my God, there's so much risk for a restaurant group to do things wrong.
Sure.
It's like leaving the carpet on in your restaurant dog-eared, and you leave it for months and think it's no big deal until somebody face plants. And It's like, now I got a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. So again, that process, if we can eliminate the problems, we're a valued partner. And hopefully over years, they're going to save in that other area of workers' comp and insurance claims, that they're going to get lower incidence rates. And that is going to make them more money. And it could be millions, more than even waste could even produce. But then hourly savings is the other one I didn't even dream of. But California jumped to $20 an hour for fast food. You're looking at $24 an hour in California for a fast food employee to be on the property, minimum wage. That's
Right.
if it's not gotten a raise. The employee hasn't. So 15 minutes is $8. You might as well take $8 and light it on fire and throw it into the dumpster or the area that they're focused on, deck scrubbing and mopping it, because they allowed the process to produce the problem. If they change it, now they've got the employees where they need them, which is in the restaurant, improving guest satisfaction.
Sure.
And that's what we've always tried to focus. Make the employee think about the guests, because they're going to make the most money for you, is bringing them back and clean, restaurants, restrooms, all that good stuff. But it takes time.
Yeah, exactly. I ask this question of everybody I interview. Who's a couple of mentors that have helped you? Basically, everybody in the industry has people that, mentored, taught, shaped the way they are. Who were yours?
Outside the industry would be my father, just because he's innovative and thought of things way outside the box and always looked at a problem first with a solution happening later. It wasn't developing a widget and then going, well, what are we going to do? So we had the problem and we solved it. Inside the industry, I would say that it's the facilities directors that really handle, and juggle so many different things. I've learned so much from them over the years, and also vendor partners, Keith Moore and yourself. When a situation arises and you need advice, it's really nice to have friends that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I got this and this problem going on in my business. And then all of a sudden we all kind of powwow. We used to call it, fireside chats.
Sure.
Life isn't easy, but when you have good friends in your corner, it makes everything even that more balanced. And so that's what RIFMA brings that is so different than any other, conference. That I'd say it's been the supporting network and person, if you could call it a person. It's a group of individuals and family members that have grown us, in just friendship base as well as business base. So it's an overall, it's very amazing.
Oh,
So.
that's great. Great answer. Give me something that used to be a weakness for you. And today, it may not be your biggest strength, but you have worked on it really hard to improve it.
Biggest weakness is trying to be and do all, and having to delegate and bring on other people to cover the things that either one, I'm not good at, if it's paperwork or something else. And as a entrepreneur, owner, and founder, you tend to have your different hats that you throw on. And I jokingly have different hats when I go on a conference call sometimes with friends of RIFMA and other groups that I volunteer for
Mhm.
within that. And so, but it is a different hat kind of thing. So I would say not always having to put on every single hat, and assigning something to somebody that I trust that can make those decisions and make those connections and everything. So I would say that I've grown out of quite a bit. So.
That's and that's one you hear from a lot of people, and I was guilty of that too. Was okay, I'll just manage everything. If I manage everything, life will be great, and so on. And at some point, there's more of it than you can do, and your role really is to teach your people how to do it. And I always said, and Kevin Carringer, who we both know, could tell you, I've said this to him 100 times. I'd never let him go over the cliff, but I'd let him go to the edge of the cliff. Won't
Yes.
let you fall, but I'll let you dangle there for a couple of minutes so that you clearly understand where we are, and then I'll try to help you figure it out. But if you're 20 steps away from the edge and I try to explain to you how dangerous the edge is, you won't hear me.
Right.
You won't hear
Yeah.
me at all. But
You're
you
right.
will hear me when you're dangling over the edge, holding on to a tree limb to keep from falling. That's all there is. And so then your opportunities are to teach.
Yes.
But you should have been teaching all along so that
Hmm.
you build that trust. And then at some point, you got to let them go do it
Yep.
because that's how I did it.
Yeah.
Can you do the
Absolutely.
job? Sure, I can do the job. I'll go figure it out.
Hmm.
And then you go try and you figure out mistakes that are made and you kind of work backward. But you have to learn how to delegate, and then what part am I good at that I can work on, and what pieces can I turn over, to
Correct.
someone
Yeah.
else on my team, and then not be over their shoulder. But when they need you, you got to be there to help them
Yeah.
and help
Absolutely.
them
Not
in a positive
micromanage.
way. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'll call so and so for you and I'll fix it. That does you no good, because all that means is the next time something happens, that same guy's going to call me, not one of
Yep.
my people on my team. Well,
Yep.
that doesn't
Yeah.
work. I'm not helping you in that.
Yeah, you got to sever that cord or that connection, or and
Sure.
give them the full ability and buy-in to produce the results that you would expect of yourself, or even better. And that's the neat thing, is when a team member like that grows in their knowledge, all of a sudden they could come back with ideas that we might not have thought of. And that's happening all the time now. And it's like, wow, I would have never thought about that, because I've been doing this for 30 years. So as I bring in more people into the organization, it's all of a sudden like, what about doing this? Well, you know what? That's a great idea. I never would have thought of that.
Sure.
And
Exactly.
it frees me up to be able to meet with other people, like the director of facilities when we're doing events or training, meeting at their offices to go over things that maybe we didn't touch on. And so, yeah, it definitely, it's a big eye opener. And
Sure.
so,
Or at
on
some
both
point,
sides.
maybe the idea came up 5 years ago and it wasn't the right time. And now the
Yes.
idea comes back to the table and it's now's the time. I mean, it can be something like that as well.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
and that's the same thing with sustainability. It went through its up and downs on the recycling, and people were like poo-pooing it. Now all of a sudden everybody's hyper focused on sustainability and how
Mhm.
we can reduce resources and that circularity. It's complicated, and so we're studying that to help in other areas of even retail. How do they move stuff back through their logistics chain like plastics? So something
Sure.
that we never ever would have thought of 10 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Where do you see Pachyderm, Morgan, and where do you want it to be, say, 5 years from now? What are you looking to do?
Obviously, increasing our growth and gaining more customers, and being able to support them long term. We've actually expanded our warranty program to 10 years, which we think
Mhm.
is paramount within the restaurant industry. There's not many products that have a 10-year warranty. And so we're taking more of a, and this is something that I learned from another partner, strategic partner, that all of a sudden we can partner with our client and maybe produce more profits for them, and we co-share in that, where we're, instead of being a broker of waste, we're actually the consultant. And so in the flip side of it, they get a 10-year warranty and they get a partner that has their back. Finding problems and issues, billing issues, we're doing that now too. So we're expanding into being a broker without being a broker, if that makes sense. Because brokers make a percentage off of the throughput. We
Mhm.
only compensate when we save somebody money. And so once we flip that switch, or that situational awareness, it's like, wow, it's resonating really well. If I can save you, $100, just give us $10. And people are willing to do that. And it's like, but we're going to keep you operational. We're going to keep you're solving your problems with your waste haulers, getting you contractual agreements that make sense, that not getting taken advantage of, because there is a lot of ways that they can do that within the contractual language. And so we're now learning how to minimize those and make overflows or other problems a lot less painful than they are today. So, and growing
And
it.
and I think your timing is right. I mean, if you will go back to, and we don't like this, but a few years ago when COVID hit, and restaurant industry was in a world of hurt, and you couldn't get anything, and you couldn't get parts, you couldn't buy equipment, you couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere. I mean, it was terrible. And so it became the Wild West. This part
Yeah.
normally costs $100, but they got it today for 300. Give it to me, and air freight
Yeah.
it because I gotta have it. Can't run my restaurant without it, or whatever it may be. And there is no equipment, so we're just going to dump parts into it for the next God knows how long, because we don't know how long this will last. The whole world changed, and it
Yeah.
was a free for all, and cost was going out the window. Get it done, get it
Yeah.
any way you can. And
True.
so now that we're a few years removed from that COVID team, and all that money got spent, and
Mhm.
all the business was lost, now all the companies you feel out there on the restaurant end are trying to recoup that spend. So
Yes.
lots of cuts going on, lots of budget crunch, to deliver. A lot of facility folks moving around because of changes or whatever, or the pressure, that's
Yeah.
going on. And really, it always used to be, get it fixed. The
Mhm.
money will work itself out. Now
Yeah.
it's, make sure the money's right, then get it fixed. And
Yeah.
it's really
Or
reversed.
band-aid, or
Yes, or
band-aided, and
band-aid.
yeah, hobble
It's
or
made it
hobble along. Yeah.
very difficult. So what you're doing, which is coming in with a program and saying, "No, I can save you money. Besides that, I can do a whole lot of other things that are really good, but your number can go from A to B."
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
enticing. So
Yeah.
for
If
you,
you
it's
have a
probably
million dollar spend on trash, and we can make that, say, 450, 500,000, and the cost element of that program brings it up to, say, 650, you now are in effect saving $350,000 every year So for 10 years, let's multiply that. Now we're looking at $3.5 million, and that's without any escalations.
Sure.
We're seeing very rapid increases in cities, and gasoline surcharges and landfills are closing. So our programs are getting even more savings for people. When we project, say, a $500 a month savings in the beginning, by year 3, they might be saving $650, $700 because everything's going up in that price curve. And so it's really dramatic. And once you start seeing that, and we're going to keep going up because landfills are closing in record numbers, and now the cost has to be moved way out to another landfill, which could be 20 miles away because you don't want one in your backyard. Sure. I know I don't.
Right. Sure. Absolutely.
So, yeah, these landfills are going to be, and they're getting fined for the CO2 that's going out of them and the methane. So we're seeing a hype, like LA might see a 53% increase next year. It just boggled my mind, but this is going to happen nationwide. So restaurateurs and everybody need to get a handle on it now, because for the next 10 years, wow, it's going to get dramatically more expensive. So
sure. Great.
Yeah.
Oh, great answer. My last question for you. What's your go-to saying? What's written on your wall? What drives you every day, or when it goes bad, which sometimes it does? What do you go to saying to kind of remember, or that drives you and keeps you going?
A problem is just an opportunity that needs to be solved. And so, when stuff does get tough and everything, reaching out to your resources and those that you trust and is always going to help you hopefully come back and solving that. So don't look at it as a problem. Look at it as an opportunity either to learn or to expand your knowledge on how to solve that issue. And kind of been doing that all my life. It's been one of those things, forcing a friend to start recycling our cardboard. Who would have thought of it in 91? I mean, I was so ticked. It was like, you got to pick up the cardboard. Why don't you do it? And because we were paying an exorbitant amount. And so again, didn't know what the answer was. Well, let's go out and ask the right people like that are experts in those things to maybe help you solve your own problems. Don't be afraid to ask for a question, somebody for help. Sure. I'd say that's one of the biggest.
Super. That's great. Well, Mark, about out of time today. Thank you so much for taking your time to come on FM Corner and kind of talk a little bit about an industry that, everybody deals with. If you're a restaurateur, you don't understand it because, okay, we pay this company XYZ. It's a national company. They do our trash. Here's how much it is. Do I know if that number's right? I have no idea. That's just the way it is. And they kind of move on, check. Mm-hmm. And so, to have opportunity to look at programs that, one, will save money and deliver money to the bottom line to the company, but also have other items stacked on top of it. This gets better. This gets better. This gets better. To put on top of that is a really good thing. And restaurant companies need to be listening because lots of opportunities there. So
yeah, and lots of problems that are produced through the process. The process can either have problems or it can be profits. And so again, change what you know and don't be closed-minded, because thinking outside the box is what got us here. And it can do that for any facilities manager. Sure. It can be a big cherry on their corporation's hat, to saving money, because it's not fixed. Everybody thinks it's a fixed cost. And that's why we're talking trash, Danny. See?
Right. There
trash
you go.
Had to get in my tagline.
I understand.
I get paid to talk trash, So
I understand, believe me. Well, Mark, thanks for taking the time today on FM Corner. That will be the end of our episode today. We look forward to talking to you again in a couple of weeks. And again, shout out to Windy City Equipment for continuing to sponsor FM Corners. We appreciate their help and their support. Thanks a bunch, Mark, for doing this.
Thanks, Danny, my friend. Appreciate you.